I was deemed passed away at the airport after someone stole my identity. I rushed to catch my flight, but security locked me up, claiming I'd been dead for a month. Traveling always wore me out, but this trip felt different. I'd been hopping flights across 3 countries for a work conference, lugging a beat-up suitcase and a carry-on stuffed with notes. I'm 32, a project manager who loves the chaos of airports, and this time I was rushing to catch a connecting flight home. The security line moved slow, and when I handed over my passport, the officer frowned, scanning it twice. He called over a supervisor who stared at me like I'd grown a second head. They said my passport flagged me as deceased, reported missing a month ago, and now I couldn't board until they figured it out. I stood there, stunned, as they led me to a small office. My bag searched while I tried to process it. I explained I'd been on the trip the whole time, showing hotel receipts and boarding passes from my wallet. The supervisor typed away, saying someone had used my name and details to fake a death certificate, and the system updated my status. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through emails to prove I'd checked in at hotels and attended meetings, but they insisted I needed clearance. I took photos of the flagged passport page and the officer's notes, saving them to my cloud. They locked the office door, saying I had to stay put until authorities arrived, and offered a stale sandwich while I waited. I ate it, pacing the tiny room, wondering how this mix-up happened. Hours passed, and I noticed a security camera in the corner blinking red. I asked to see the footage, but they refused, so I sketched the room layout on a napkin, marking the camera's position. My phone buzzed with a text from work asking why I missed a call, and I replied I was stuck, attaching a photo of the office. I also found an old ID in my wallet from a conference badge, slightly worn, and photographed it as extra proof. The supervisor returned with a printout, showing a death record under my name filed in another country, linked to a hospital I'd never visited. I saved the paper, noticing the address looked fake. Random numbers on a street I couldn't find online. I started piecing things together. My laptop bag had a tier I didn't remember, and a USB drive I'd never seen peeked out. I plugged it into my phone, finding files with my personal data, birth date, address, mixed with someone else's travel records. I copied the files to my cloud and hid the USB in my shoe, suspecting someone swapped it during the trip. The door unlocked and 2 officials entered, asking questions about my recent whereabouts. I handed over my receipts, but they wanted more, so I wrote a timeline of my journey on another napkin. I kept thinking about the USB, wondering if it held the key to who stole my identity, and planned to check security logs myself if they let me out. The airport office felt like a cage after the officials left with my receipts and timeline. I had photos of my flagged passport, the fake death record, and the USB drive's files, plus a sketch of the room, and a worn ID from my wallet. They still wouldn't let me go, saying the investigation needed time, and I sat there with my suitcase, mind racing. I decided to use the wait to dig deeper. I pulled out my laptop, connecting to the airport Wi-Fi, and searched for the hospital address on the death record. It didn't exist, just a vacant lot on a map, so I saved the screenshot. My phone pinged with an email from work, offering to send a lawyer, and I replied with details, attaching the passport photo. I noticed a janitor passing by the office window carrying a bag of trash, and saw him glance at me oddly. I took a quick picture through the glass, saving it, and wondered if he knew something. The USB files bothered me, so I opened them again, finding a travel itinerary under my name for a country I'd never visited, booked a month ago. I copied the itinerary to my cloud and checked flight trackers online, spotting a match with someone using my passport number. I saved the flight data, realizing the thief might have cloned it. The officials returned, handing me a form to fill out asking for contacts who could verify my identity. I listed work colleagues and wrote their numbers, keeping the form. Later, the janitor came back, this time with a clipboard, and lingered outside the door. I snapped another photo, catching him checking his phone, and saved it. I asked the supervisor about him, but they shrugged, saying he was just staff. I started feeling watched, so I moved my suitcase to block the window view and wrote notes on the form's back about the janitor's behavior. My lawyer emailed back, saying they'd contacted the airport, and I saved the reply. I also found a crumpled boarding pass in my carry-on from an earlier flight, slightly torn, and photographed it as proof of my trip. The officials came back with a clearance delay, so I asked to see security footage, but they denied it. I decided to test the janitor. I left my notebook on the desk with a fake note about identity mix-up, then stepped out to stretch when they opened the door. The janitor peeked in, and I caught him flipping through it on camera I'd set up in my bag. I saved the clip, feeling sure he was involved. My lawyer called, saying they'd push for release tomorrow, and I saved the voicemail. I kept the USB hidden, planning to hand it over with my evidence, and started drafting a complaint about the delay, wondering how deep this identity theft went and who else might know. The airport office became my strange home as the lawyer worked to get me out. I had photos of the flagged passport, the fake death record, and the janitor's suspicious glances, plus videos of him snooping in my notebook and the USB files with the cloned itinerary and edited conference photo. My suitcase blocked the window, my drafted complaint sat on the desk, and I had a growing stack of evidence. The officials kept me waiting, saying clearance would take time, but I refused to sit idle. I pulled out my laptop connecting to the airport Wi-Fi and searched online forums for identity theft cases, finding a thread about a scam ring using travel docs. I saved the link and took notes on similar tactics, adding them to my file. The next morning, the janitor returned with a maintenance crew, carrying toolboxes and muttering to each other. I noticed him slip a folded note under the door, and I grabbed it, finding a scribbled apology with a name, Tom, and a phone number. I took a picture, saved it, and set up my bag camera to record him lingering in the hall. I showed the note to the supervisor, who frowned and called Tom into a back room. He confessed to working with an accomplice to sell fake IDs, using my passport as a base after copying it during a security breach. The supervisor fired him on the spot, and I saved the written termination notice they handed me, feeling a weight lift. I also found a crumpled ID badge in Tom's trash can, photographed it, and added it to my evidence. My lawyer arrived later, a tall woman with a briefcase bringing a new passport and clearance papers from the consulate. I handed over the USB, photos, and videos, watching as she reviewed them with the officials. She explained Tom's partner had faked my death to escape debts, using my conference photo edited with their face, and had booked flights under my name. I signed a detailed statement for the airport, keeping a copy, and took a photo of the clearance stamp on the new passport. We left the office together, and I collected my suitcase, noticing a small tear in the handle I hadn't seen before. I photographed it, suspecting it happened during the search, and saved the image. Outside, the lawyer drove me to a nearby cafe to debrief, where I ordered a coffee and jotted down her advice on securing my identity. Back home, I unpacked my suitcase, sorting through wrinkled clothes and scattered notes from the trip. I checked my bank accounts online, finding no unauthorized charges, and saved a screenshot for reassurance. My work sent a care package with granola bars and a company mug, and I saved the delivery slip, chuckling at their gesture. I contacted the conference organizers about photo security, explaining the theft, and saved their reply promising tighter controls. I also called my bank to set up fraud alerts, writing down the confirmation number. The experience left me on edge, so I shredded old receipts, bought a fireproof safe for my docs, and started carrying a digital backup on my phone. A few days later, I received a letter from the airport apologizing for the ordeal and enclosing a travel voucher for a future flight. I scanned the letter and saved it in my email, planning to use it for a vacation. My lawyer followed up with a call saying Tom faced identity fraud charges and his partner was under investigation, and I kept the court notice she mailed. I shared the story with friends over dinner, watching their reactions, and they helped me brainstorm better travel habits. I bought a new luggage lock, tested it on my suitcase, and organized my travel gear in the closet. Proving I was alive turned a nightmare into a lesson, and I felt stronger, ready to hit the road again with smarter precautions.